Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a disassembly and maintenance video for you on this little guy right here. This is the Null Knives Voodoo. Oh, that voodoo you do. Alright, let's take a look at it first off, and it looks like centering is very slightly favoring the show side, although not to the extent I would ever complain. The action on it is pretty damn solid. No real complaints there. And there really isn't a whole lot else going on here. So my big questions right now immediately are, how do I get this thing apart? So I know I need to take out the pivot. That much is for sure. I know I don't need to take out, well, okay, I probably do need to take off this screw and this screw, because Buck50 says there's also a screw here and here that I'm also going to need to take apart. And so I'm going to be doing kind of a half-half disassembly where I take the pivot out from this side, or the other, no, actually, because the clip is not, the clip is screwed to the other side, so I really can't take the clip off without taking the thing apart. So there must be two screws like here and here, maybe three, that'll let me get this guy apart. Let's go ahead and start off there. And by the way, if you're curious about any of the tools I'm using, check out nickshabazz.com/tools. And actually, this mat is a brand new thing. This is actually from Knife Joy. They are having these made. I am testing this. That is not an official endorsement. So far, it actually seems like it's got some nice benefits to it. But, you know, this is actually the first disassembly I've done with it. So far, so good. But, okay. So this is not a free spinning pivot, which is good. I was a little afraid of that, but I am feeling some thread locking. So, okay. Good. It's popped out without too much difficulty, so that's good. There was definitely, though, yeah, we see some thread locker was on there. Go ahead and put that in there. Okay, now the next question is, what am I doing from here? I'm assuming I'm taking another screwdriver. Hey, it's T8 there too. That's really nice. And I'm popping that loose again, a little bit of thread lock on there, so I'm kind of making sure I'm pressing nice and hard. Oh, I just noticed this little pattern along the back there. That's nice. Okay, good. And so now that I have these, that I have this micarta off, I can access these two screws here. So these both look like T6, hopefully. Let's try the others with T8. And that pops loose. That's nice. Oh, that's, oh, there must be like a barrel sort of thing in there, because that's way too short to go through to the other side. All right, so I'll leave those two there, and then right there. Beautiful. And hopefully now the knife should kind of come apart, right? Because there should be no other things holding... Yep, okay, there we go. Sub-Zero Prototype 7. Right, look at that fancy font. Neat. All right, so let's go on ahead and take the rest of this thing apart. And what we're going to see here is... oh, it screws right into the backspacer. The backspacer is the threaded bit. Okay, that's how that's working. So what we're going to see here is we have some, you know, DLC on the inside too, which is nice. We got that. It's a nice little touch. There is very little internal milling, but then again, there's also a lot of external milling to remove and replaced with micarta. So that's fine. Let's go ahead and use some rubbing alcohol here and clean off the blade. And we see there is actually some gunk in here. I'm going to be clear with you, though. I have carried this knife a little bit before before this disassembly, the reason being that I've had time to carry knives more than I've had time to film of late, because, oh boy, work has been an affair. It has been a whole situation. But luckily, I'm not going to say it's calming down, because then it's just going to attack me, right? It'll be waiting for me outside. I'll walk out of the office and it'll shank me or something. Hopefully not with one of these. Hopefully with something a little more dull, although... maybe I want to be shanked with something. Anyways, moving on. So anyways, so I've carried this guy, but ooh, this actually has a little gumption to it. So hopefully we're going to be doing some good here, cleaning this off. It is nice to see these stainless washes here. This is predominantly to, that way the bearings don't wear into the titanium. This is a thing that a lot of people talk a lot about. I've never actually had it really be a problem on a folding pocket knife, but it's one of those things that having a higher hardness material beneath a very high hardness material seems to make some sense to me, given that I am not a material scientist and whatnot. But anyways, so it's a nice thing to have, certainly. We also see that there is an over-travel stop here, preventing the lock bar from going too far this way. And it's not just the micarta. And there is a lock bar insert here, which is nice. Overall construction on this guy is absolutely fine. We do have... Interesting. Got the blade pocketing. Okay, yeah, there's a T, there's a Torx on the thumb stud there itself. That's nice. Clean off the pivot here, and then we should be mostly good to go. Oh boy, is it good to be back in the saddle, so to speak. Well, technically the small piano bench that I sit on when I do these. But yeah, it's been a whole situation. Let's go ahead and put everything. All's good, right? But just like, it's been a thing. But okay, let's put this guy back together. We know that the clean part, like this part of the pivot, needs to be on the outside. And unfortunately, so there's a D shape here to this pivot. That's how it's not free spinning, right? There's this top surface, and that surface engages with this side of the pivot, which means that it is not free spinning, but it is only, like, it needs to be indexed. It needs to be at the right angle so that it stops against this side, right? So we actually need to kind of make sure as we're putting this guy back together, what is the best way to put this guy back together? Probably pivot first, unfortunately. So we need to make sure that the flat part of the pivot is facing up towards the top of the knife. If that changes, that's a problem. Let's go on ahead and use a little bit of lubricant here. And this is not a lubricant that I've talked about on the channel yet. I don't actually have a strong sense of how good, great, bad, or ugly it is, I suspect. That's not true. I've used it once and it was fine. But, you know, I'm just giving it a shot here. I'll give more details down the road. But so far, it does not appear to put the knife at any disadvantage when I've tried it. And want to do some long-term testing. But okay, let's go on ahead and put that. That's some high praise right there. But that's why I'm not telling you much about it, right? I'm being asked to test things. It happens. Okay, so let's put the blade back in position here. Need to make sure again that that's a nice detent ball ramp, right? That big ramp right there. That's kind of good. Then I'll go ahead and I'll put a little bit of lubrication right there, a little bit right there, drop in the washer here. Now, what this should allow me to do is, what is this? This is a stop pin. That's a stop pin. That goes there. Now, what this should allow me to do is to put this back together. Like, if I can get the pivot back on there, then in many ways life is good. Then the rest is just alignment. Are there parts missing? No, there are not. Let's go ahead, grab some thread locker. I'm going to use this blue thread locker on a stick here. Curious about any of the labeled tools on the table, go ahead and check out nickshabazz.com/tools. And don't you worry, if there were any action issues introduced, I will 100% swap out to a different lubrication. But like I said, in an initial, wow, cool. It's like initial and additional all at once. Initial. But anyways, in an initial test that I have done that is also additional, there was absolutely no problem with it. So I don't think it'll put it in any disadvantage. All right, let's go ahead and pop this in here. Beautiful. There's that, and now we put this little guy into position, and again, using just the slightest tiny bit of thread locker there. That was too much. The slightest tiny bit of thread locker, he says as he dabs it on with a freaking glue stick. All right, that's in place. Now, at this point in time, the action of the knife is way off. Why? Because the pivot is too loose. All right, let's tighten up the pivot. Yeah, there we go. That's better. So at this point in time, the knife structurally is good to go. So I should be able to test everything, and I want to test everything before I reinstall the micarta, just to make sure that we're in good shape. Okay. Smooth? Smoother, frankly. I think it might be a little tight. Let me try loosening it up a little bit and see if I can... Okay, that is a little smoother still. Oh, yeah, that's nice. Centering is now as close to dead on as one could really ask for. So that's good. Not a hint of blade play. Yeah, we are good to go here. I'm going to use my thread locker stick here. Put a little tiny bit of thread locker on both of these guys here. Beautiful. And now, reinstall this using the D8s. There we go. And there we go. And at this point in time, yeah, this knife is doing that voodoo that it does. Beautiful. All right. So, look, all things considered, good disassembly. Slightly smoother than it started, but it started pretty good. I don't know that the centering was broken before, but it's certainly fixed now. And, yeah, 0 complaints right there. Beautiful. All right. Sounds like a plan. All right. Hope this has been interesting. Now it's time to write up a review and take it from there. Hope you found this interesting, that you learned something about this little bit of voodoo right here, and that you have yourselves, and it's worth noting one little thing. This is actually a prototype, as it said on the inside there, so your eventual version might be slightly different, but hopefully not too different, because so far, pretty good. But anyways, hope this has been interesting. Have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.